The most obvious problems one might encounter when it comes to strategic foresight or thinking in the future are really three come to mind: presentism, simplistic thinking, and being overly optimistic. Presentism is really action-oriented. Let's deal with the 5-meter targets type of approach that we typically see in the Army, and there's nothing wrong with this in general. But if one thinks simply by dealing with the problems right in front of you at the moment, that longer-term problems will sort themselves out, there's probably a problem there. As to simplistic thinking, it's easy to identify today's trends and just assume they'll continue into the future unchanged. Systems thinking and effective strategic foresight help to identify the assumptions and the history behind those trends, and not just the trends themselves, allowing for shifts over time based on tweaks to those assumptions to kind of get away from that simplistic thinking. And finally, there's a tendency, especially in the can-do culture like the Army, to be overly optimistic in our predictions about future situations. This is particularly true when we are personally involved. No one's more convinced of a staff product or a decision than the person involved. And you know, I've found that in my own work, that you work so hard and long on a problem and you think you understand it so well that it's fairly easy to think, well, if you just take my recommendation, then the future will be bright. And that is not always the case. So you gotta be careful that you don't fall into that presentism, that simplistic thinking, and particularly, in my opinion, that overly optimistic look at the future.